Hi there guys, welcome to the video. Thank you very much for tuning in. And this here is the Rotorama Meffie. I did a short build recap video of this quadcopter as an introduction, and you can buy this quadcopter from Rotorama ready built or as a parts kit, and it's reasonably priced. 250 euros I think, more or less. So in today's age, that's cheap. Yeah, a couple of years ago that would be, what? Expensive, but now 230 euros for a 3-inch ready to fly quadcopter, that's cheap. And I'm here with my friend Nick. I'm gonna help him build the same quadcopter, more or less. Yeah, the only difference will be the motors, but the motors will be the same spec, so same quadcopter. And this video will be a recap, more or less, or a, well, how easy or hard will it be for Nick to build a quadcopter. See, Nick has never built a quadcopter. He has flown quadcopters, never built one. So I'm gonna help him, and he's gonna tell us how difficult or easy that is. That's it, that's the video. And at the end of this video we're gonna actually fly that quadcopter, of course, as well. Here we go.
You serious?
Alrighty guys, let's get started. So this is my Rotorama Meffie version 2 3-inch quadcopter, and we've got a box with parts for Nick to build a quadcopter out of. Now disclaimer, Rotorama, here Rotorama, or even here Rotorama has sent us the frames. So they were free of charge. They are not paying us for these videos, and the links in the description won't be affiliate links. Also, Diatone has sent us flight controllers, the all-in-one flight controllers. Also see links in the description. And their ultra tiny VTXs, 400 milliwatts I think. Super duper I think. I'm actually quite happy with the performance of that VTX. Again, link in the description. No affiliate link, and we're not getting paid, but they were free. Okay, that was the disclaimers. And first thing we're gonna yeah, pretty obviously, we're gonna first build that Rotorama Meffie 3-inch frame. So, also, what I want to do, I know what it's like to be building things with the camera pointed at you. And I'm used to it, so, but I'm not gonna do that to Nick. He's never... and he's never built a quadcopter. So I'm just gonna have him build the frame, and after that we'll discuss if it was hard or easy. I'm suspecting that the frame build will be easy, but the rest of the build, electronics and such, might be a challenge. Alright, Nick, go and build the frame, and we'll see how you fare.
Okay, I will do so.
Alright, Mr. Nick, you have now built your very first, was this the very first frame you've ever built?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, what were your impressions?
Well, it's actually quite challenging because there's no diagram.
Yeah, no manual.
No manual, and it means that you have to make some choices from which you don't exactly know if they are right.
Yeah, yeah. This frame came with 3 screw sizes.
Yes.
And you don't really know which screw goes where.
No, and the extra difficulty is that the screws are pretty evenly matched.
Yeah.
Not exactly matched.
Yeah. They're not the same, but almost.
Almost the same.
At first glance you think, they're the same, but they're not. Yeah. Okay, what I told Nick off camera is that you lay out the screws, and from the number of screws of each kind you can normally tell at least something. For instance, there were 2 short screws, which we haven't used yet, but those were for the FPV camera. Right, 2 screws for the camera. So they couldn't have been for anything else because the other functions required 4. Okay, so that takes a little bit of experimenting, and probably if you had mixed up the screws it would have worked anyway.
Yeah.
But might be something for Rotorama, make a diagram which screw goes where.
Yes.
Other than that, this is a pretty simple frame.
Yeah. indeed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, the next thing we're gonna attach to our frame is the motors. So that should be pretty simple. 3 or 4 screws per motor, and that's it. That's the next job. And maybe add some tape to strap the wires to the arms. And one tip I have about that is make sure to not use screws that are too long to attach the motors. If you were to use screws that are too long, you will potentially, and actually in most cases, you will damage the motor. So make sure that the motors don't protrude above the base of the motor. I'll put up a picture of what it looks like if you do use screws that are too long. So that should be very simple, and that's what we're gonna do next. Attach the motors to our frame. Here we go. Alrighty, so Nick, you have added motors to your quadcopter, or soon to be quadcopter.
Yes.
No rocket science, right? Did you run into anything?
Well, it's a delicate type of work.
Yeah.
You have to not to be in a hurry, and you have to have this special tape.
Yeah.
For actually fixating the wires.
The wires. Actually, maybe I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that, but I'll add some pictures on screen of what the quadcopter looks like right now, and we've added tape to secure the motor wires to the arms, right, as you do. And I'm not actually sure what that type of tape is called. I'll put it up on screen for you right now. I can never remember the name, but well, that kind of tape, this kind of tape. And yeah, that you have to have that, of course. Otherwise, zip ties, but tape is more elegant.
And you told me something about the positioning of the tape. I didn't realize actually on forehand.
Yeah.
That is that it has to do with the propeller size, and if the propeller has, because of a crash, has a bend in it, then it could possibly touch the wires. But instead, if you tape it.
Yeah. If you put the tape at the correct position, it will protect the wires at least somewhat.
Yeah.
Not indefinitely, but it'll protect them somewhat. Yeah, indeed. So basically you put the tape at the position where the tip of your propeller would hit the frame. That's it. Okay, that's it?
Yes.
Alright. Next thing we'll do, and that's the most delicate and most difficult, if you will, part of the build, of this build especially. We'll add the 4-in-1 ESC. We'll add the all-in-one flight controller, and with that we'll solder up all motor wires. And this is a 3-inch quadcopter, so everything is a little bit smaller than in a 5-inch build. So that is definitely a challenge. And if you're insecure about your soldering, I have given Nick a practice soldering board, but still, on a 3-inch quadcopter like this, the soldering pads are smaller. So yeah, take your time, have good soldering equipment. That makes a whole lot of difference. And also, at some point, you'll be snipping off these motor wires and you'll strip them, right, to solder them up. It is handy to use that part of the wire that you snipped off to practice stripping it. You'll be throwing those wires away, right? So practice the snipping or the cleaning of the tip of your wires with those leftover parts. Pro tip, right? Especially if you've never done so. But the real difference is in the tools, so the wire snippers and the strippers. If you use good tools, it'll be a whole lot easier than, well, if the snipper is a little bit blunt and stuff. Alright, so I'm gonna have, well, I'll probably show him one motor and then have him solder up the rest of the motors. And then we'll come back and see what Nick made of this quadcopter. Here we go. So, Mr. Quadcopter Builder Nick, how did you fare? Again, I've now let Nick install all electronics basically. I have, for instance, done the first motor or the first wires of the VTX and such, or stripping a couple of wires, but most of the work has been done by Nick. And good news, we've already done a hover test. It actually flies, and we'll show you in a second. But Nick, what did you make of this? Was it easy?
It's not difficult and not easy, but you have to take the time for it.
Yeah.
You don't have, you must not be in a hurry.
Yeah.
And you have to be actually get some experience with stripping wires.
Yeah.
And you don't have to you must not strip too much of the wire.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to get the right solder, for example.
Yeah, soldering iron.
Soldering iron, the right
wire stripper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right soldering tip. Sometimes you need a bigger tip.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good point. We actually used my soldering iron and Nick's. We mostly have the same, but I had bigger tips, and Nick only had a fine tip, which for most of the soldering on this quadcopter is the correct one. But for instance, the battery leads, a slightly bigger one was better.
Yeah.
For instance. So yeah, the right tools for the right job. That's what it comes down to. But I think this is a 3-inch quadcopter. All soldering is pretty small, smaller than on a 5-inch. I think in retrospect, a 5-inch as a first build,
definitely
for most people will be. It's definitely easier.
Yeah.
So if you were considering doing your first quadcopter build, Nick has built himself a 3-inch quadcopter and it flies, but he had my help, right?
Yeah.
It helps. I think that if you were considering a first build, I'd say 5-inch. The flight controller is bigger, the solder pads for your motor wires is bigger, the wires for the motors are a little bit thicker and such, etc, etc. It's a little bit easier. So, okay, but still, you've got the job done, so very nicely done.
Thank you.
And well, let's check it out. Let's see you fly the quadcopter. We haven't FPV flown it yet.
No.
Hover tested it, but yeah, go ahead and show us what it's like. Okay. Here we go. All right, Nick, show us the money.
Yes.
I hear a quadcopter.
Yes.
Yeah, you are indeed flying FPV.
Oh, wow.
Cool. Well, what is your first impression?
Wow, this is a good flyer.
Is your FPV feed clean?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Side note, we have elected not to use a capacitor just to see if we need it, right? If we would now have a non-clean FPV feed, we could also always add the capacitor, but my version of the Meffie 3 also didn't require a capacitor. Okay. So,
wow.
Fast, slow?
It has good inertia because I can easily throttle a little bit up and make a nice, yeah, how would you say it, roll or...
Okay, yeah, you've already rolled it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Flip
I have
it.
no idea. Oh, you're over there. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, could you fly around us maybe to let people hear how noisy you are?
Yes.
I could hear the quadcopter, but can you over there in YouTube land hear it? Probably not. It is not a noisy quadcopter. There? It is not a noisy quadcopter. Mine is the same. So, and what is the PID tune like?
I think it's stock tune.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, mine is completely 100% stock. and it flies great as well.
Yeah.
I have set the filtering. I've set up the filtering.
Okay.
A little bit of filtering, just as on mine.
Yeah.
Works. Very, very nice. So that was a video about a beginner builder building a 3-inch quadcopter, and as you can see, it flies. And I would definitely say that a 5-inch again is a better start. We felt like building a 3-inch quadcopter, and that's why we built a 3-inch quadcopter. That's what it is. But again, if you were to build a first quadcopter, I'd say start with a 5-inch quadcopter, even though this has worked out perfectly, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
Very nice quadcopter. Yeah, maybe we'll do another video in which we race the two against each other, as they are mostly identical. That should be fun. And
Yeah.
they are racers. But yeah, I'm happy it worked out.
Yes.
Cool. And Nick actually has an iFlight RS 136 or 136 RS, which is a lighter 3-inch quadcopter, basically one of the first toothpick kind of quadcopters. How does it compare?
This one is a little bit, I think, feels a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Yes, but you can also, if you like, you can fly it very slowly. But I think it has the tendency to go a little bit fast, a little bit more agile.
Yeah.
But I have also slightly different props on this build.
Yeah.
These are 3 blades, and I use 2 blades on the Turbo B.
Yeah. Well, let me actually tell you, the viewer, this quadcopter is now approximately 4 times as powerful as the other.
Wow.
But you simply haven't used it yet, I guess.
That's true. That's true. I'm still getting used to flying it. Yes.
Yeah. Try a punch out, a full throttle punch out. That it should be a whole lot faster than with your iFlight.
True. Yes. And I think if my voltage indicator is correct, I'm gonna land it.
Oh yeah, but at what voltage are you now?
14.4.
Huh. Okay, and what is your flight time?
4 minutes and 40
Oh,
seconds.
okay. And you have basically a lipo that's hardly
suited.
Yeah,
it's on the light side.
a 40C lipo.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's it for the video. If you are left with questions over there in YouTube land, hit me up a comment down below. I want to thank you for watching. And again, there's a list of the components in the description down below. They are not affiliate links, just for your information. And that's it. Catch you in the next video. Bye bye.
Bye bye.